Journalist, you're sitting there doing one of the most high-profile interviews that will ever exist, and you don't ask the absolutely most important question, and you don't challenge.
It's been one of the most unfair things that has just hung over the royal family, like this terrible stink, isn't it? That, like, you know, it just begs the question, well, who would have said such a thing if they ever actually did? What are your thoughts, Andrew?
Well, the first thing is what you've just said, if it actually happened. And the second is that I don't know a single family, certainly not my family, which, as far as I know, isn't mixed race particularly, but when a baby's about to be born, you say, I wonder if it will take after Mum, Dad, Great-Uncle Fred, or whoever it may be.
Yep.
That isn't a racist thing to say anyway.
No.
So, and that's all that, as far as we know. And Oprah Winfrey was expressing such shock. She said, what? So I think the whole thing was utterly ridiculous. And also, I mean, of all people, the royals led the way in being anti-racist.
Yeah, and I think...
Partly for the reasons we've been saying, because the Queen, from a very early age, was going around all the countries of the world, and among them the Commonwealth countries.
And the King is so inclusive. He just had so many faiths involved in his coronation and all of those things. I think it must have broken his heart to hear.
I know.
That.
Wow, OK, so you're going to be shocked at this, but I actually agree with you that you identified them yesterday, and let me explain to you why. Because everybody in the royal circle knew who it was. All the royal journalists knew who it was. I've spoken to people who knew who it was. The fact that they've been named didn't come as a surprise to me, because it's fairly common knowledge among journalists.
I actually don't think many journalists knew about Princess of Wales. I think they thought it was another member of the royal family.
But you accept that...
Well, I was actually surprised, but I was not surprised that, again, it made...
Every single time we have instances in our country of calls for racial justice and social justice, it's nil point from the royal family. It's like they all of a sudden go quiet. Oh, I'm sorry. We can see that you were able to open your mouth when you choose to, when it's in your interest, but not when it's loud interest.
But what's really interesting about this is this probably sounds like a huge criticism of the royals, and it is, but if they view it in the right way, this is actually a pathway to them getting out of this whole problem. But the question is, with Harry and Meghan, you can see it in the book. I mean, it is obviously Harry's perspective. It's one side. No doubt there is another side to this story, but you can see it in the book that egos are clashing with each other on all sides. And the real question here is, can the royal family put their egos to one side for long enough to try to focus on how they actually solve this problem and get out of it, and not be drawn into just personality clashes with Harry and Meghan?
And I think the royal family must understand that the era of deference died with Queen Elizabeth. Nobody's sitting there anywhere going, oh my God, but King Charles said, I could not give a flying flamingo. If you're not representing me, if you're going to be in public office, which is what they are in, and you have that power, you need to be able to demonstrate to us why we should keep you or leave you in that place of power. And they don't do that at all. They talk about dignified silence. There is nothing dignified about being quiet when we know very well that you are leaking information through the press, that you are complaining and explaining through the press. We can see it's like gaslighting on an epic level. And this is why when we talk about issues of racism, institutional racism, reparatory justice, being able to come out and say, look, we want to fill the gap, we want to lead by example, that when Harry talked about unconscious bias being separate from racism, he was wrong. They're absolutely the same thing. Racial bias is not the absence of racism. It is the presence and evidence of racism. You're only racist because of a racial bias.
Okay, 30 seconds.
She tried to warn Meghan
all the joy
5 years ago.
And then he went on to say,
and then I said, get away, Meghan, don't do it.
You said this is not a dreamy fairy tale.
It's not.
Most crowns are made of thorns as well as diamonds.
Wow.
She cannot possibly understand what she's getting into. The Windsors are a cold and dysfunctional family.
I fear I do believe that.
Really?
I do believe that. I do believe that. I mean, look at the examples. Not just Diana, but even going back to Princess Margaret. I remember Princess Margaret when she had to sign her love away. It was a rainy day, I remember it very well. And she never really recovered, did she? Because she couldn't marry a
That's
divorcee.
true, she didn't.
Yeah?
But life has changed. The royals have changed. But
I love the boys. The boys it seem very normal to me. But why do they need a butler? But that's another question. It will be a nightmare. Because the official regulations, I mean, even Kate, you know, I'm not a royalist, but I do sort of look at these, at Kate. She had personality once. They've taken it away somewhere.
What do you want us to do? Get on the roof and start dancing?
I think Diana had it, and that's why Diana was so unwelcome.
Well, Diana was very, very popular, of course.
And she was
also,
bold, and
I
she
would
was
argue
rebellious.
Diana and her death in particular, I think, transformed this monarchy.
Have you read any of the books in which Diana described her life?
I've read a million things.
But do you not even believe what she said?
There are television debates that come and go without leaving much of an impression. And then there are moments that capture the public's attention because they expose just how divided opinions remain on some of the biggest issues of our time. A recent live television exchange between Dr. Shola and Piers Morgan quickly became one of those moments. It wasn't simply another discussion about the royal family. It became a wider conversation about race, media responsibility, public accountability, and the legacy of how Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, has been treated since joining the monarchy. From the very beginning, the atmosphere was tense. Neither guest appeared interested in offering carefully rehearsed talking points. Instead, viewers watched two people with completely different perspectives challenge each other's arguments in real time. The debate was passionate, emotional, and, at several points, deeply uncomfortable. That discomfort is perhaps one reason why so many people have continued discussing it long after the camera stopped rolling. At the heart of the discussion was a question that has lingered for years. Can institutions claim to have made meaningful progress on race while avoiding direct accountability for controversies that continue to affect public trust? Dr. Shola argued that genuine leadership on anti-racism requires more than public statements or carefully managed appearances. It requires transparency, accountability, and a willingness to confront difficult questions honestly. One of the most striking moments came when claims were made suggesting that the royal family had somehow led the way on issues of anti-racism. Dr. Shola immediately challenged that idea. Rather than accepting the statement at face value, she repeatedly asked one simple question: how? It was a question that immediately shifted the conversation. Instead of allowing broad claims to stand unchallenged, she pressed for concrete examples, measurable actions, and evidence. Viewers watching at home saw an exchange that moved beyond personalities and into a broader discussion about whether symbolic gestures should ever be confused with meaningful institutional change. For many people following the debate, that moment represented something larger than one television appearance. It reflected years of frustration surrounding conversations about Meghan and the way discussions about racism often become focused on denying experiences instead of examining them carefully. The debate naturally turned towards Meghan Sussex, whose story continues to generate strong reactions around the world years after stepping back from royal duties. Supporters argue that Meghan became the target of relentless criticism unlike anything directed at many other members of the royal family. Critics continue to disagree, but the intensity of public discussion itself demonstrates how significant her story has become. Dr. Shola argued that Meghan's experiences cannot simply be dismissed as ordinary celebrity criticism. Instead, she suggested that the Duchess faced a unique combination of racial bias, gendered stereotypes, and relentless media scrutiny that created an environment unlike almost anything seen in recent royal history. That argument has resonated with many observers because the record shows just how extraordinary the volume of coverage surrounding Meghan became almost immediately after her relationship with Prince Harry became public. Every outfit became a headline, every gesture became a controversy, every family decision became front-page news, every rumor became another opportunity for endless speculation. For supporters, this pattern raised an obvious question: why did one individual attract such relentless attention, while similar behavior from others often generated far less outrage? That question remains central to conversations about Meghan today. Throughout the discussion, Dr. Shola also spoke about what she described as years of gaslighting surrounding Meghan's experiences. Gaslighting is a word that has become increasingly common in public conversations, but its meaning remains significant. It describes situations where someone's lived experiences are repeatedly questioned, minimized, or dismissed, to the point where they are expected to doubt their own reality. According to Dr. Shola's argument, this happened repeatedly whenever conversations turned towards Meghan's allegations of racial bias or discriminatory treatment. Instead of engaging seriously with the concerns being raised, discussions often shifted towards questioning motives, attacking credibility, or suggesting that criticism was simply manufactured. Whether viewers agreed or disagreed with that perspective, it clearly struck a nerve because it reflected frustrations many people have expressed for years regarding the broader public conversation surrounding race and representation. Piers Morgan, meanwhile, maintained his long-established position during the debate, defending his views while challenging many of the accusations directed towards the royal family and sections of the British press. The exchange between the two quickly became intense. Neither participant appeared willing to retreat, neither softened their position, neither avoided direct confrontation. That dynamic made for compelling television because audiences weren't watching scripted interviews. They were witnessing two sharply opposing worldviews collide in real time. Yet, amid all the disagreement, Meghan herself remained central to the discussion. Her story continues to matter because it goes beyond royal headlines. For many supporters, Meghan represents resilience. She represents someone who entered one of the world's most famous institutions with optimism, only to find herself facing extraordinary public pressure. Despite that pressure, she has continued moving forward. She has continued building projects alongside Prince Harry. She has continued speaking about mental health. She has continued supporting charitable initiatives. She has continued investing in causes connected to women, families, and community empowerment. Those accomplishments often receive less attention than controversy, yet they remain an important part of her public story. One reason Meghan continues to attract admiration is her determination not to allow criticism to define her future. Since relocating to California, she and Prince Harry have focused on building a different kind of public life. Rather than relying solely on royal tradition, they have pursued philanthropic work, media projects, and initiatives designed to amplify conversations around mental health, equality, veterans, and responsible digital engagement. Supporters argue that these efforts demonstrate an important point. Leaving royal duties did not mean abandoning service. Instead, it meant redefining what service could look like outside palace walls. That distinction continues to shape how many people view the Sussexes today. During the television debate, another recurring theme involved the relationship between the royal family and sections of the British tabloid press. For years, commentators have questioned whether unhealthy dynamics exist between royal institutions and media organizations. These discussions are often highly contested, with differing opinions about how close those relationships really are. Dr. Shola argued that media narratives can influence public perception in powerful ways. Repeated headlines, repeated speculation, repeated framing. Over time, those narratives can become accepted as fact, even when important context is missing. That observation reflects a broader reality about modern media. The stories people encounter every day inevitably shape how individuals and institutions are viewed. When certain narratives dominate for months or even years, they become difficult to challenge, regardless of whether they tell the complete story. This is precisely why debates like this continue attracting enormous audiences. People are not simply arguing about one interview or one newspaper article. They are debating whose version of events has been allowed to dominate public understanding. For Meghan's supporters, this issue extends far beyond celebrity culture. It raises questions about fairness, about representation, about accountability, about whose voices receive the benefit of belief and whose experiences are immediately questioned. Those questions resonate far beyond the royal family. They touch workplaces, schools, communities, governments, media organizations, and ordinary families. That is one reason discussions surrounding Meghan continue connecting with audiences across different countries and cultures. Many people recognize aspects of their own experiences in conversations about being judged unfairly, stereotyped, or misunderstood. Meghan's story has therefore become symbolic for many supporters, not because everyone agrees with every decision she has made, but because they recognize the importance of allowing people to tell their own stories without immediately dismissing them. Throughout the debate, Dr. Shola repeatedly returned to the importance of confronting uncomfortable truths rather than avoiding them. Progress, she argued, does not come from pretending difficult conversations are unnecessary. Progress comes from engaging honestly with criticism, acknowledging shortcomings where they exist, and demonstrating through actions, not simply words, that meaningful change is possible. That message appeared to resonate strongly across social media, where clips from the discussion spread rapidly. Some viewers applauded Dr. Shola's willingness to challenge powerful narratives directly. Others defended Piers Morgan's position and argued that his questions reflected legitimate skepticism. The divided reactions themselves highlighted just how emotionally charged discussions surrounding the royal family remain. Few public figures generate as much global attention as Prince Harry and Meghan. Years after stepping away from royal duties, almost every interview, appearance, or public discussion involving them still becomes international news. That level of attention says something important. Their story continues to matter because it raises larger conversations about institutions, media influence, personal identity, and the evolving expectations people have for public accountability. Meghan's journey has never been a simple fairy tale. It has included triumphs and challenges, moments of celebration alongside moments of extraordinary scrutiny. Yet one quality has consistently stood out throughout her public life: resilience. Despite criticism, she has continued advocating for causes she believes in. Despite relentless headlines, she has continued appearing publicly with confidence. Despite years of intense public attention, she has continued emphasizing compassion, family, and service. Supporters view that persistence as one of her greatest strengths. Rather than allowing negativity to dictate her future, Meghan has consistently chosen to focus on building new opportunities and using her platform to encourage conversations that matter to her. Whether through charitable partnerships, public speaking, or collaborative projects with Prince Harry, she continues demonstrating that service can take many different forms. The live television debate ultimately reminded viewers of something bigger than one disagreement between two commentators. It highlighted how conversations about race, media responsibility, and public accountability remain unresolved. It showed that many people continue demanding answers rather than slogans. It demonstrated that challenging powerful narratives can provoke strong reactions from every side. And perhaps most importantly, it reinforced why Meghan's story continues resonating with millions around the world. For her supporters, she represents perseverance in the face of extraordinary pressure. She represents the determination to keep moving forward despite relentless criticism. She represents the belief that difficult conversations should not be silenced simply because they make institutions uncomfortable. Whether audiences agreed with every argument made during the debate or not, one thing became unmistakably clear. The discussion was never only about one interview. It was about truth, it was about accountability, it was about fairness, it was about whose voices are heard, whose experiences are believed, and whether meaningful progress can happen without honest reflection. As the debate concluded, opinions remained divided, but the conversation had achieved something significant. It encouraged viewers to think critically, question familiar narratives, and examine the broader issues that continue shaping public discussions about the royal family, the media, race, and Meghan Sussex. Long after the camera stopped rolling, that conversation continued online, across news platforms and among millions of viewers around the world. That may be the clearest sign of all, that this was more than just another television argument. It was a moment that reignited an ongoing global discussion about justice, accountability, and the enduring impact of Meghan's remarkable journey.